players left. Pulls up, looking for the lead, and he got it. Jalen Williams, 2 seconds, 1:11.109. Now SGA, probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Kenrich Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
What is up? What is up? We're here for a post-game live. We did this last time for the Spurs on Wednesday. We're doing it again on a late, super late game in Los Angeles against the Clippers. If you are here in the chat, sound the F off. We are making history, ladies and gentlemen. Before we break down anything, I have a couple of takes I want to fire off before we get off here. This is going to be just a post-game reaction. We have some things to mention. We are 6-0, Texan by nature. I can't say anything. 6-0. We are 6-0. Before we get to anything, and Cooper flag is ours, according to 03 Hardaway. Before we start anything, I want to fire off a couple of things, and then I'll talk with the chat. So give me a second, chat. I have some. I think everyone here is interested in what I have to say potentially. Dylan, you're all good. It's all good, brother. Hope you're doing well. Hope everything's going well with you. We are 6-0 though. We are 6-0. Before we get to any of that, I need to do something. Give me a second, guys. If you're joining me live, give me a second, guys. I need to say a couple things. Here we go. The Oklahoma City Thunder, for the first time in franchise history, the first time ever in the Oklahoma City basketball sports history, are 6-0. The Clippers are 2-4. The Clippers are potentially going on the opposite direction. The Thunder have held this team and 4 other teams this season to under 100 points out of 6 games. Less than 100 points for 4 of those teams, including tonight. Each win, 6-0 by the way, each win has been by 12 or more points. Our average points of victory is over 17 and a half. And tonight we come off of the back-to-back victory. And we do so without Shea seeing the court for the last 4 minutes of this game. And ladies and gentlemen, that is so hype. I don't know what else to tell you. This defense is awesome. Okay, let's get rid of that. Hype's over. I needed to do that for the very end. The Thunder won tonight 105-92. It was a 13-point victory. And to be honest, if you were watching this entire game, it did not feel like this was going to be that kind of game. It did not feel like this was going to be a kind of game where the starters or anybody was going to be able to sit on the bench for the end of this game. But God damn it, they did. Because we've gotten kind of accustomed to second half surges, and this team did. YouTube tutorial music, thank you. I definitely did not prepare that beforehand. That was totally organic, by the way. Defense held him to 35 second half. Yeah, the second half was unreal, real okie. The 21 in the third, 14 in the fourth. The thunderstorm didn't show itself in the third quarter like it did in the Trailblazers game of last, but this one was just sort of a slow, methodical defensive breakdown. Also, the Clippers just not hitting the same types of shots they were hitting in the first half, which also kind of felt like the Portland game where everyone was hitting the first half. Nobody was hitting the second half. And this team is special, guys. This team is so special. I don't know if we have truly really appreciated it yet. Let's break down a little bit of this game. I have some thoughts. I want to just want to fire off real quick, and then we'll get out of here. If you guys have questions, fire them off in the live stream chat. Fire them off in the comments below. By the way, be sure to subscribe because you don't get these anywhere except for our YouTube. If you follow along with our podcast, these are YouTube exclusives. Follow along, like this. Dylan wants to plug his tweet. I will plug your tweet in just a minute, Dylan. Let me get to a couple things, and I will certainly do the plugging for sure. But just a couple of things generally from the game. Again, if you have questions in the chat, leave them. I'll get to them. So let's start with the beginning of this game. It was not a good start. Our offense was being a little bit slow, as it has been traditionally in this season so far. Very inconsistent. We had an early timeout by Mark, too, in that first quarter to kind of try to reset the defense. It was not good. Terrence Mann was kind of cooking as well in this opening quarter. But a couple of guys who did show up in terms of the shooting very early on. Number one, Isaiah Joe. We've been looking for his threes. They were hitting early. They were also hitting late too, but they were hitting consistently. That was awesome. Very crucial for this win. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you might have heard of him, also was hitting his threes. He started 2 of 3. I do not believe he ended 2 of 3. He ended 2 of 4, as I've just checked. But his threes were also falling early. Both of those threes were in the first half. Those were crucial just to keep us within the ballpark of the 10 points that the Clippers were winning by for most of the first half. So shout out to those guys for that. Ball movement looked really good, though. There was a couple of good plays in that first half that I really liked, particularly the one where I don't remember who gave it to Dub at the top of the key, but he did get it, drove down, kind of drove everybody into him, and then kind of dumped it off to Dort. Dort got the and one off of that play, and that looked very good. But in general, the halftime, or at the halftime, I should say, the game was pretty good in terms of where we were. The fact that we were within striking distance at all felt pretty amazing. We were, let me double check what the actual score was at halftime. It was, I can do some mental math here, 53-57. So 4-point lead by the Clippers. The fact that it was even that close felt a little bit, that felt good because the Clippers defense was fantastic. Not only in the first half, they were pretty good throughout the entire game. So shout out the Clippers defense. They were very, very good. Even James Harden was getting a little bit aggressive, poking balls away. Terrence Mann was looking really good. Derrick Jones Jr. was looking good as well. They had, and Coffee was looking good. They had a lot of guys that defensively looked very nice, very disruptive. Kind of felt like it was a taste of our own medicine a little bit with the way that we have been disrupting some of these other offenses beforehand. They were doing that to us. And so definitely felt like we were a little bit out of our zone in that first half. But the second half, as it has seemed to been the last few games, certainly the last 2 games at this point, locked in defensively. As somebody in the chat said, Real Okie in the chat said, 35 points by the Clippers in that second half, and they just did not have a way to respond offensively to this team, while we threw in some great performances around the entire roster. Shea did not have his normal, typical 30-plus point game. Did sit those last 4 minutes. Did end up with 25, 9 assists, and 3 rebounds. But Aaron Wiggins with 12 points off of the bench. Isaiah Joe also with 12 points off of the bench. Kaysen with 7. Again, his impact early was very needed. But then you have Dub with 15, 7, and 4. You had Dort with 16, 4, and 3. Dort's threes were not falling as much, but still was 1 of 4. Definitely still impactful. And Chet, definitely still a lot to be desired offensively. Did end up with a double-double, 10 and 14. Did end up with a block and a steal. But definitely something with the first 4 or 5 games of the season, you were hoping for a little bit more. And that's just sort of the expectations of a superstar in Chet Holmgren, but he still played enough to make an impact on this team. B. Miller says, OKC got that switch. I'm ready to play a better team, though. I think this was the better team. A lot of the debate around the Thunder and their 5-0 start prior to this game was that they hadn't played anybody good, and this was a good team. The Clippers are a good team. I know we all want Cooper Flag. I know everybody in here wants the Clippers to eventually tank. But without Kawhi and, Paul George leaving, the Clippers have been really good in the guys that have stepped up. Norman Powell and Terrence Mann have stepped up tremendously. Zubac has had a tremendous start to the season. He's one of the top rebounders in the NBA. The Clippers have a very, very good team. And I don't think I truly realized their defensive impact until we saw them tonight. But they were very good. Dylan in the chat says, Chet, phenomenal on Zubac defensively. Defensively, Chet never really let up. It was more of his offense that I was a bit in that second quarter, maybe third quarter, was wondering what was going on. But yeah, Chet, I don't think we ever are concerned about Chet's defense. I think that's always going to be there. But since Dylan mentioned it, let me go ahead and pull up his tweet. Let's pull it up. Let's get a quick shout out here for our boy that could not be here today. While I am doing that, let's double check where that is. Oh, he retweeted it. I'm assuming it's this one, so I'm going to pull it up. The jarring stat from Thunder Chats. Jarring stat for you, 6 games into the regular season. The Oklahoma City Thunder hasn't allowed a single player they have faced to score 25 points. In fact, Trae Young and Norman Powell are the only player to even break 20 with 24 points each, I assume. Smallest margin of victory has been 12. Truly historic defensive performance being put on for the Thunder. Yeah, it is truly historic. This is potentially one of the best defensive teams ever. Even when Dylan's not here, he is here. He's making an impact. We appreciate your contributions to the podcast. But the defense potentially has the shot of being the best of all time, especially when Isaiah Hartenstein comes back. But even still, holding all of these teams to less than 100. Like I said, 4 out of 6 so far have been under 100, which is pretty crazy in this day and age of the NBA. The fact that we're holding all of these star players to under, like Dylan said, under 25. The most has been 24 from those two guys mentioned. Pretty incredible. So the defense is so legit. It is so legit. A couple of the things that I wanted to mention before we hop off here in the second half, which was where obviously the Thunder kind of made their run. The third quarter had a lot of questionable calls. I don't remember why exactly. Maybe somebody in the chat can help me out with this, but there was only 2 refs instead of 3 on the court for most of the second half, and not getting a lot of consistent calls in terms of fouls. The 2 that stick out immediately to me were the ones on Dort, where it was pretty much a hack on that end. And then a couple of minutes later, maybe 3 or 4 minutes later in game time, Shea had another one where he finished the drive, made the shot, but definitely got contact as well, and clearly was upset with the refs, like actually mad at the refs for not giving that call. And I thought that was a little bit indicative because you don't see Shea very emotional in those moments. And I think it was the fact that they were getting the calls elsewhere. They were calling some physical calls on both ends, but a little bit swayed on the Clipper side, and in my opinion, perhaps. So I just threw my wire there, but a little bit swayed, and I think it was showing a little bit in that third quarter. Cajun Fisher said one of them had a wardrobe malfunction. That is a very vague description. How do you have a wardrobe malfunction as a referee? Who knows? Maybe we'll find out later. But the point is, we didn't have a third ref. That sounds to me, by the way, like diarrhea, if I'm being completely honest. I'm just going to say it. That just sounds like he pooped his pants and he didn't have spare pants, but I digress. Anyway, the refs were questionable in that third quarter. Definitely was something of note. I'm not going to harp on it more than that. But in that third quarter too, Casey Wallace had some great defense. Great defense. There was one play on Kevin Porter Jr. where he just decided to go up on Kaysen for some reason. And Kaysen was like, no, sir, you're not going to be doing that. You're not going to be doing that today. And you're not going to get those points. I'm sorry to tell you. And he did not. And then to cap off that third quarter, we were still kind of close. Wiggins with the three to end the quarter was huge. Big momentum shift into the fourth quarter where it was just all the Thunder. It was just all the Thunder. It was a very slow and methodical shift into this is a close game, and now it's not a close game because there was part of it was Chet being very good at finding the open man. He had a couple plays in the fourth quarter, I believe, where he found either Wiggs or I think the other guy was Dort on the baseline to get the three. But then the Isaiah Joe step back three was so chef's kiss. Really sealed the deal there for this is the Thunder's game to play. This is the Clippers game to lose. That step back three in the fourth quarter to go up, I believe 13 was so nice. It was so nice. Also, Shea being on the bench until about 5 minutes in the fourth quarter because the Thunder roster that was on the floor at that point was so impactful and making plays and finishing plays. Just shows the depth that we have on this roster. So that too was also a bonus. He only played a minute, I think, and then he came out. So all in all, very impactful game. Definitely, if you told me before the game started, I was very worried about this game. I knew the Clippers were playing well. I definitely thought this was the game that we were going to lose and be out of the undefeated category. Unfortunately, we are not the only team in the undefeated category. The Cavaliers, shout out Donovan Mitchell, had a great game today to keep the Cavs in the undefeated category. But we are still there as well, 6-0. They are 7-0. Still vying for that last position, but they did it against the Clippers. They won a back-to-back game on the road and are now going to be flying back to Oklahoma City. Also, worth mentioning that one of the reasons probably that the back-to-back worked in our favor, especially in that second half, was our youth. The Clippers are obviously not a very young team. Oklahoma City is the youngest team in the NBA statistically. And I think the fact that we came out in the second half like we did is a little bit of a tribute to that. So shout out those guys, the young fellas on this team for sure. So big win, 105-92, as I said, for this team. So we are going to end it there final thoughts, if anyone has them in the chat, I will let you get them in. But as you guys are doing that, I'll rattle off a couple other statistics from the game. The Thunder ended up shooting, by the way, 41% from three. 41%. That was a little bit higher than I thought, but that was on the backs of Shea, Wiggs, J-Dub, and Isaiah Joe. Isaiah Joe, 4 of 8 from three. Those were his only shots he took today. And we hold the Clippers to 31% from the three-point line. The second half, we ended up giving up 2 out of 14 from three. 2 out of 14 from three from the Clippers. The second half, we locked the F in on that end. Part of it was also the Clippers were not shooting very well, but defensively still made an impact. So a couple other things I just want to mention before we wrap up here. So thank you all for listening to our quick little post-game recap. We will be back here either Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to try to do a post-game Monday. For the Magic, we're flying back home to Oklahoma City, and we're going to be here for the Magic without Paolo Banchero. And we'll see if we can continue the stretch of games. 7-0 is the goal. The Magic did just lose to the Cavs, but Jalen Suggs did have a good game, so definitely still a potentially threatening team. So definitely not something to overlook. But we will try to be here Monday for that post-game recap. And then regardless, we'll be here Tuesday to recap everything in full detail besides just my blabbering. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back. Be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs by our March meetup, which is March 21st against the Charlotte Hornets. By the way, definitely check out our Twitter to get tickets for those. But in terms of the YouTube, we are trying to get 1,000 before then. So please subscribe. Over half of the people are still not subscribed that watch this on a regular basis. So what are you doing? It's not paid. It's so free. Just subscribe. Just like the podcast. Just comment below what your thoughts were on this game. It's so easy. It doesn't take any work. Doesn't take any time. Doesn't take any money. So just do it, dude. That's all I got to say. So that's all I got to say in general, too. Thank you for